Welcome, everybody. It's Tuesday, the 11th of April, and this is Ambassador Town Hall 43. We find ourselves yet again on Discord. Perhaps next week we'll be on Zoom. Let's see. We've got quite a nice group today. I'll have to keep in mind to turn off camera when we hit 25 members. Today we're joined by Rojo Gaboti, Akba, Andreas, Cardano Klaas, Grandano, Creed, Felix, Fly Your Fools, Haley, Head Elf, Ian, Ivan, Littlebutts, Mikasa, Raphael, Stephen, Tivo, and the Fries DeFi. Thanks all for joining, and actually a warm welcome to the new faces here. Great to see you. As per usual, I made a little agenda for a bit of structure on the meeting. And I think best will be to dive right in. First, a little reminder on the ambassador program and what we aim to do. Basically, everybody's welcome. Anybody who wants to learn more about the SingularityNet ecosystem and help us spreading the word and contributing to the growth of the ecosystem. And we do this by participating in all kind of work groups and meetings. And yeah, on a zoomed out level, we're quite in line with the goals of the SingularityNet ecosystem, working towards beneficial AGI. There's a lot of focus on self-organization and a lot of room for input. So if you have any ideas or you want to get a certain project started, simply post it. And people will pop up and will help and will jump in. Yeah, why should you join? Well, to grow yourself. There's a lot of cool people to meet and a lot of fun stuff to do. And yeah, together we spread the word on SingularityNet. So that's it for starters. And we always get started with a little bit of an update from the work groups we have. It's a growing list, as you can see. We'll simply get started on top of the list with the Process Guild. The weekly meetings for the Process Guild are on Tuesdays after the Town Hall, so at 19 UTC. And as we're joined by Tivo, Tivo, perhaps can I ask you for a little update on the Process Guild?
Well, it's been a while I was in the town halls, but aggregating information together from past several weeks, I would say we are in the middle of changing the process of how do we scale and look at the activities that needs to be done, because Process Guild is not just figuring out what Process Guild itself should do, but how it also is working together and collaborating with other guilds and work groups that are emerging here, and what kind of help and support they would need, and basically bringing up these issues and making sure that they get addressed at some point of time. So that is happening, and what is coming up this week is a bit of focus on P-work tasks and how to get these requirements of these high topics we need and into more planned action items that could be completed asynchronously. And if we have done organizing and figuring out what needs to be done, then we can also do some either breakout rooms, depending on how many people we have. We actually also do the work in the calls themselves and audit at the same time.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, good stuff. So if you're interested, do stick around after the town hall. We usually hop over to Zoom. Yeah, it'll show itself how it works. Then on to the next on the list would be the Treasury Guild, which has meetings on Thursdays at 15:30 UTC. Broadly speaking, that's the place where we discuss and figure out everything treasury related. I'm inclined to ask Tivo if you could perhaps, since you are here anyway, I'm gonna use your presence to the fullest, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So in Treasury Guild, right now we are doing it like weekly and changing the cadence between either looking how do we manage budgets and team workspaces for all the guilds. Although recently we've been more of like stake pool operation, bringing up a new topic, and then a bit of like privacy concerns, which was brought up, and we put some focus on that. And we have these kinds of issues, and like governance and treasury management is basically the main topics bi-weekly. But in middle of these weeks, we also are doing reward distribution and auditing and looking at and people basically like training people up to manage the treasury itself. So this week we will look at setting up the treasury manager and the Excel. We have some permissions, and then we'll see how far we get. And we may also start thinking about what are the next guidance, and then from somewhere in the Discord there was also a notion of new features basically to implement right away based on strategical discussions. And all of the decisions don't affect right away. For example, a few weeks ago we said that participation doesn't really get rewarded right the same week, and we collect participation rewards over a month. But when we do decisions there, we kind of also let it through to other guilds in the ambassador down hall, gets here if there any feedback, and if we through the cycle of 2 or 4 weeks, nothing or no compromises requested, we will go ahead and implement those set decisions. So it's a slightly slow process, but then again, you don't really want to be that rushed with the community building.
Definitely. Thank you. My job is relatively easier because there's another one on the list, and that would be the Marketing Guild, which has its meetings on Fridays, 13 UTC. Looking at the attendance list, there's Fly Fools and Crandano. Would either of you be able to give a little update?
Yeah, I've got a good little update here for everybody. Marketing Guild started with an update on Writers Work Group from Kenichi. There's been new submissions and reviews for the test task that he's been doing. Slate has officially been awarded the role of scribbler. Kenichi posted a solid tweet about maximizing Twitter outreach. And I'm going to highlight some of the things that CryptoFly mentioned about tweets because I think it's pretty interesting. She said with the Twitter algorithm being leaked recently, we should also take this into account when we are sharing content. Tweets for SingularityNet should be coordinated across a large group of people to get eyes on the tweet. It should be done in a natural manner as well. The algorithm states that you will get the following boosts for each engagement. The 30x boost for bookmarks, 30x boost for likes, 20x for retweets, 2x if you provide an image or video, 2x for Twitter Blue, and then 1 time for replies. If the user spends more than 2 minutes on the tweet, then it is given a 22x boost. If the click to your profile through the tweet and like more content, 24x boost. Let's see. There's also some things that are minus. For instance, if you add a link into your post, it's a minus 2x. So she outlines some really good things from this tweet. I also have it linked in the marketing chat, or the chat to this conversation going on right now. We discussed the decentralization summit upcoming, as well as the ambassador program 1 year, creating content based around what has been accomplished so far. I posted a link to the Writers Guild documents in the chat. Ed Elf mentioned how we should be looking at everything planned within the SingularityNet ecosystem, the schedule, and coordinate on a message. This is something reiterated today during the broadcast ideation meeting. Perhaps we can get the ambassador calendar highlighting more of the ecosystem at some point. We discussed increasing collaboration, open communication with the SingularityNet Foundation. For instance, maybe some form of Slack channel for the ambassadors and foundation or other means of communication. Stephen discussed the GitHub. He applied for the task and seems very interested in taking lead. Since then, he has really been hashing it out, and maybe today we can give him some time to give an update. Let's see, Rojo gave us an update on the video work group. Portfolio submissions are in, and there's a group of interns that will start moving forward to create video content. We discussed CryptoFly's videos and rewarding them for their first SingularityNet video. And we noted 2 graphic designers, Lily Cupcake and Bert Cardinal. I posted the video workgroup structure in the chat. Adelph and Rojo brought up the topic of voting overall in the program, as well as within marketing and the workgroups. We had a great conversation about recording our votes on the blockchain, such as the decisions recently being made within Strategy Guild. Bart Cardinal discussed creating images for various guilds and work groups, such as incubation, strategy, marketing, writers, and video, and we agreed to go ahead. Dave Fools had a nice list of things we could be doing and working on, such as carrying on with the infographics for guilds, Stephen doing the Git book, some form of governance token or voting mechanism for the marketing guild, and tackling all the low-hanging fruit, like more conversation, amplification of all the translation content. So yeah, if anybody's interested, Marketing Guild meets Fridays at 13 UTC. We'd love to have anybody involved. Give us some feedback.
Great stuff. Sounds like I missed quite some productive meetings. I was off on Friday and Monday. So for me, personally, the time in between these tunnels just was gone, pretty much. Yeah, very cool. You did cover a little bit on the writers work group and the video work group, but let's see. Oh, Rojo is here. Check. I was looking alphabetically. Perhaps if you want to give a little update additionally, you can.
Yeah, for sure. I can add a little some stuff. Cardano kind of went through a lot of things, but yeah, just to recap, I mean, in our meeting last Friday, we did a little introduction of the members. So so far, most of our members are interns, so they're not official members yet because they didn't do their first project or video or whatever. We had members from Argentina, Russia, Turkey, USA, Australia, Morocco. We have people that have experience in doing infographics, long videos, short videos, and all kinds of stuff, and even tutorials. We even have people that have some experience with the Cardano Ambassador program and all these things. The main topic last time after the introduction was discussing CryptoFly's video, as Cardano kind of mentioned. We did agree to reward it an extra than what we would normally reward, because it was a very quality video, and we also have decided that this is a video that we would get at least like 3 or 4 videos out of, because we would clip it up and then have more content to publish in our channels. And the CryptoFly did agree to that. After CryptoFly so far got rewarded for that video, she's also now our first, I mean, after me first voted, let's say, official member. So she's a member of the video work group. And yeah, that's about it. I would like to just put the link to CryptoFly's video in case somebody would like to see it or would like to check it out. It's a really nice introductory video to SingularityNet. I also would like to get some news about something I did last week, which is creating the first batch of Ambassador NFTs. I will share with you the policy ID. I still didn't share it with the members. I need your wallets or addresses basically to send it. About that, so the NFTs have in their metadata the name of the ambassador, the role of the ambassador, the work groups that the ambassador is in, and also the guilds. It also includes one thing in the metadata, which is like task points. It's by default 0 for everyone at this point, but we will discuss forward how to implement this. So what I'm thinking so far is to update this metadata every month to add task points, and if there is new roles or whatever, that could be updated. Perhaps if this works, it could be generalized to other guilds and other stuff. And the metadata could be used in voting and all these things in different platforms. So the policy ID, I'm going to copy it here. If you'd like to check the NFTs, just go to pool PM. If you're familiar with the pool PM, and copy this policy ID there, and you will see so pool.pm. Okay, just copy it in there, and you will see the NFTs. And yeah, that's about it from me.
Thank you. I'm really curious. I'm screen sharing now, but I am curious. Let me grab it on my other.
Could you link it to us, Rojo? Whenever I put in that policy ID into pool.pm, nothing's coming up right now. It might just be me.
For sure. I can check it out.
I don't think you can put policy ID. You need to go to the blockchain explorer, like C Explorer, and then check the assets ID from there.
Yeah. My bad. Okay.
Like Felix posted now.
So yeah, in Cardano scan, I guess you can do that. Yeah. Nice. So yeah, as you can see, you have 7 ambassadors. I think Peter, you are ambassador number 1, so you can check yours from there. Yeah.
The video work group meeting last week was awesome. Everybody started with introductions, and there's people from Argentina, Russia, Turkey, USA, Australia, UK, and maybe another couple spots that I missed. It's cool to see everybody from everywhere coming in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Peter, it's not. It kind of sucks to see it from Cardano scan because you cannot check the graphics and the metadata is not sure. Yeah, it sucks.
Is it me or? But these are not yet sent, right? Or are they?
They're not yet sent because I need your addresses. So if you can send it in the ambassador only, I can send it tonight, basically.
Yeah, sure. They are in the public reward sheet. But yeah, that works. I'm really curious, but I'll check it after. Yeah, good stuff. And I guess related to the marketing guild, there's also the session that was right before the current town hall. But if you don't mind, I did reserve a separate slot for that. So if it's okay, I would like to go to the a small update on above the incubation workshop and the strategy guild first.
Sounds great. I'm just gonna post in the chat the slides from the incubation work group. So this week in incubation, I'll just give a brief outline and then hand it over to Head Elf, as many of the conversations and things led into that. But basically in incubation work group this week, we were focusing on the ambassador role and what that entails in consideration of the strategy, concurrently looking at distribution and budgets from a top-down perspective. So incubation was looking at defining the ambassador role from a kind of grassroots bottom-up. And I would love to offer the mic to Head Elf to share.
Oh, David, that was very quick. I expected you to go on for a little bit longer. I would just finish eating, but it's okay. Thank you. A lot of what happened last Wednesday was a beautiful synergy between incubation and strategy. It was kind of like a 1-2. And it started with the roles on the ambassadors, and it segued into finally coming to a semi-conclusion of compensation for ambassadors. We, as the Ambassador Guild, settled translations and base pay, and we've gotten out a lot of the noise and some of the stuff that's been causing strife for the community. And we worked up towards settling the ambassador cadre so we can move forward. Crandano, a month or so ago, said we needed to stop and get everything lined up and formalized. And we're pretty much there, I believe. And we're almost ready to open the gates up to start bringing in new ambassadors and soliciting and following up on leads and stuff like that. But what I was most impressed about as we try to form a decentralized government was last Wednesday was, in my opinion, one of the most brilliant displays of consensus and discussing and debating to conclusion, to voting, but to unanimous voting. And everybody in the room had their say, and they were solicited to have their say. And it was such a powerful example of consensus that we had one vote we had to undo. It was the very first vote. It was on a percentage, and it was a stipend, monthly stipend to ambassadors. And we then went to 3 more other votes for different things, and I'll get into it. But when we hit it, we suddenly realized we did not have a reporting system for the ambassadors and transparency. And we pulled back and we rehashed it, rediscussed it, and we came up with a solution. With the solution came a blocker that we're working through, and I think Tivo touched it lightly. Right now we're using D-Work for tracking our efforts, our tasks, and there's a bit of a blocker in it. And I think later on today we're going to have a little discussion about it in the D-Work thing. But the greatest thing that came out of Wednesday, besides that we settled, I think we settled the ambassador compensation, was the consensus that everybody in the room did, and you guys were fantastic. So what we settled on, what we came up with, is that ambassadors previously could get money for being ambassador, but they could also double dip for doing marketing or this or that, or even attending meetings like this. So we've come down that the budget for ambassadors will, for the next month or quarter, will take up 48% of the ambassador, SNet ambassador budget. But ambassadors will not be able to double dip and get money for doing other things. Their ambassadorial duties will be tracked somehow and aligned up, and based on that, they will get compensated. And that was a big thing. We're going to be tracking the work. It will be tallied, and ambassadors will get paid monthly. And that was the second vote that we came down to. And then the third was we wrestled with the value of AGIX versus USD and how do we get compensated. So we came down currently, or at the time, AGIX was 0.41. We're going to use that as a baseline. It will be monitored, and the ambassadors will be compensated in AGIX based on USD at 0.41 or whatever it is at the time of the payout at the end of the month. That was the third vote. And the fourth one was when paid, and Stephen from QDAO brought this up, and Felix, and we wrestled with it, is being able to export a file to DWork, through DWork to GitHub. And Stephen has taken that up, and one of the things that we need is, I guess, a proposal from Stephen, even though he's been given the charge to do it. We have to figure out whether we're going to use DWork or some other system. This following week, this week, we're going to take up where incubation left off, which are duties of the ambassadors. And then in strategy, we're going to get into ethics, bang out a code of ethics for ambassadors. There were two housekeeping items that came up. Now that we've settled translators and entry level, and we're still working on the onboarding document, and we're going to go through it. And Peter, I didn't realize in the you had done, and Rojo apparently had done so much work in the Git book. I started going through that, and a lot of the stuff that we're doing is already in there from almost a year ago, 6 months ago. So kudos to you guys for doing that, and we need to incorporate that more into the onboarding. But a housekeeping thing was the leftover stuff from a year ago, the ambassadors, the people that were working on tasks and doing things from almost a year ago. Apparently, there's a lot of unpaid task work. And I don't know, this is what we discussed. I haven't looked back there, but there's some unpaid stuff, some tasks that went uncompensated. And now that we're at the stage to go forward, we'd like to make sure that all that old stuff is cleared up, taken care of, and taken out of our budget so we don't overspend the budget. We want to make sure we're at an even keel on budgets and nothing is due to any of the people that were working early on. That was one of it. And as I said, next we're going to go to duties and ethics. But it was a powerful meeting, and I invite everybody in the room to come visit us Wednesday. I think it's 18 and 1900 UTC. Raphael, congratulations on deep funding and being part of it. Please come visit us in that. Add your 2 cents. We'd really appreciate it. Ian, you're there sometimes, but it would be great to have you there. And Haley, I don't think we've seen you yet. So I think if you need a personal invite, this is it. Please come visit us in incubation and strategy. Thank you. And everybody else. Everybody else is invited. I haven't talked with you yet necessarily, but we're trying to move this ambassador cadre and the whole program ahead. And today's meeting about broadcast that was spearheaded by Fly and Crandano, phenomenal, strong. It's really bringing some cohesion to this program. So thank them.
Great stuff. And yeah, very solid roundup, I would say. Is there anybody who would like to add something to this?
Steven, would you like to give a GitHub update? What you got working on over there?
Yeah, I can. It's very, very early. So set up a GitHub organization. SingularityNet archive. I noticed the SingularityNet community GitHub is vacant, but I started linking in GitHubs as which are replicated on the GitHub repository archive. In the future, they could all be open sourced and compliant with open source future. Started looking back at historic information by actually doing a query on the Singularity, filtering that out, and then cross-referencing that with our Discord channels. And I started archiving May 2022, and then training them summaries of. It's going to take time to build up the archive, so watch this space.
That's great. Maybe it's a nice thematic entry to invite you guys to an event that's happening on Thursday, which is in the SingularityNet Ambassador calendar, and that is a AI sandbox with Felix and Fly. So we're going to be going through ChatGPT 4, playing around with it, looking at its tools, plugins, and uses. So welcome anyone to come along to that session, which is at 6 to 7, well, say 6 to 7 BST, so that's 17 to 18 UTC. Welcome. And also, maybe while I'm at it, kill two birds with one stone. I'll introduce the session which was just before the Ambassador Program Town Hall today. This was a broadcast ideation with Grandano, me, Head Elf, Phrase, Stephen, and a few others. Looking at how we can broadcast the Ambassador Program. So there's a few ideas which are starting to kind of fruit. Next Monday, me and Grandano plan to have a open Twitter Spaces. The time is to be confirmed, but it will be in UTC about early evening. So we'll update you on that when that's happening. And we welcome you all to come aboard. It should be a fun event. And today we had a little ideation about that, and also possibilities for podcast group and creating both a guerrilla style event on Twitter Spaces with me and Grandano, and also more, say, let's call it considered material in terms of recorded podcasts, spearheaded by Head Elf and Phrase DeFi. So yeah, we just had the session now. We're gonna be hitting the ground running next Monday, and welcome anyone to get involved in the next ideation and bringing it forward. We're very much into kind of open sourcing and creating a collaborative workflow between stuff like a Twitter space held by me and Grandano, with say spots, places for the program, and also creating a workflow between podcasts possibly. Yeah, thanks guys for the session, and I look forward to seeing you next Monday.
And question, Peter, for you, probably Haley and maybe Ian, is part of the ideation of what went on in the previous session and what we discussed in marketing last Friday, is while it's we're looking at a guerrilla style marketing campaign or a broadcast campaign, not marketing, it would greatly help if we could have some type of coordination with everything that's going on in the SNet ecosystem. So I think what we're looking for is kind of a moving 12-month schedule of major events that are public or going to be public, or even some alpha that you don't mind releasing, so we can coordinate, perhaps the Twitter space on Monday They can start discussing stuff. We can podcast. We can start getting tweets out. Instead of being just random stuff, we can coordinate on where and what SNet as a whole ecosystem, whether it's Rejuve, Cogito, if I'm pronouncing that right. I even went into the Sophia DAO, and there's a channel there that says Ask Her Anything. And I told her we were starting a podcast, and I asked her what she would like to see the topics be. I haven't gotten an answer yet, so I guess I haven't risen to the stage of answerability. But you guys, if you could give us some type of 12-month calendar so we can have a coordinated guerrilla marketing campaign, guerrilla broadcast campaign, etc., we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
By the way, head of, I was thinking, this is just a suggestion for me. Perhaps the podcast can start by introducing us as a community before starting to talk about about SingularityNet ecosystem. Maybe we could do like an introduction of the team, and I think there are a lot of interesting stories to be told just by the community members, and that could be a good start because that's something we're very familiar with, which is our lives. You could talk about your story, head of. I'm very sure a lot of people will be inspired by that, and there are so many diverse and so many interesting things to be told here. And that could be like maybe a couple of episodes, and then once we get comfortable with the the setup of this podcast and all these things, then you could move to something more substantial to the ecosystem and all these things.
That's a great idea, Rojo. That will be taken as the main consideration. And of course, we have to include Haley in that, and Peter and Ian, but I would like to do interviews on everybody in the ecosystem. So thanks, Rojo, for that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and thanks for picking up, Head Elf. It's a great point, and it's something which has been resonating through the program recently, especially in the marketing, is once we kind of align these communication channels, I'm looking forward to optimizing with that. Yay.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely stuff which is not public. At the same time, it's not like we secretly have a portion of the website which is not set to public, where all the where the proper overview is. So it might take a little bit of puzzling to arrange, but very open to, definitely.
Is there like a foundation calendar?
No, not as such.
Oh.
I mean, we do have outlines of, broadly speaking, what happens when.
Okay, that's
However,
cool.
that's not one-on-one public.
Uh-huh.
But that's what I say. I think it might take a little bit of puzzling, but at the same time, that's not a blocker.
Yeah, no,
Well, if it's not a blocker, we don't need access to all that. I mean, from an investor standpoint, I'd love that, but we don't need that. But most of the creative stuff that we're talking about needs 2 weeks to a month to get stuff done, potentially. So if we could, if somehow like something's going to happen in 3 weeks, you could give us a heads up and we could start doing creatives on that. Is kind of what I think we're talking about, just so we know a little heads up there. We don't need the deep alpha yet. Well, we could use it, but the other thing I'd like to point out, I just got to give kudos to Barkey. I have a Zoom account. If you want to start using it, I have a paid one, but Barkey, I asked him to make a graphic for me with SingularityNet over the shoulder. I was playing with it today. I got it over the weekend. Fantastic, very subtle for using like your background that you have, Peter, but it just has SingularityNet for the green screen that I have. So pretty cool. Thank you, Barkey.
Good stuff. Let's see. Yeah, I was kind of interested. I now do have a fuller picture of what exactly the broadcasting session was about, because it was, yeah, anything can be broadcasting. I was quite curious. We did have some, well, for quite some time, we have this idea in the background of potentially at some point running like a stream of all the content that's out there. It's pretty close to be able to cover, you know, like 24/7 kind of stream setup. So in a way, I was thinking like pretty bit like that. But definitely a big fan, and also as Ivan points out, yeah, having regular and well-scheduled Twitter spaces. I fully agree. That's there's tons of potential.
Yeah, that's great. I think there's so much opportunity to give some space to these, for instance, philosophical questions that Grandano and I have bonded so much on. I think one example I gave in the broadcast ideation is I remember one video where I think it's Steve Jobs is asked a question and he's on stage and he considers it. He keeps silent for something like a minute or something, and I would really love to facilitate those kinds of spaces with a great vibe, really nice topics where we can facilitate this kind of if someone wants to think about an answer, that's totally cool, and we give a vibe, we play some music, we give something a little bit more than just hammering out content to keep people occupied. Yeah. And I think one of the things that came up in the discussion is that it can really link towards research and exploring these really deep questions about AI, decentralized AGI, and all that entails.
Yeah, loving it. It's really curious. So just to recap on that, this Thursday on 17 UTC, there will be a session on... No, wait, that's not related, is it? Is the Thursday session related? As like a...
Oh, no, it's not. No.
It's unrelated. Check. Sorry for the bonus confusion there.
No worries. It's next Monday we're thinking to do the first broadcast on Twitter Spaces. We'll keep you updated once the time is confirmed. And Thursday is like an AI sandbox where we're just going to explore, play around with some AI tools, plugins for ChatGPT 4 and explore some uses. Yay.
Oh, cool.
One other thing, just for the broadcasting and podcasting, and while we're requesting things from the foundation, I want to throw my hat in here, because we're going to need to, I think ideally, we'd have some guest speakers. We talked about academics, we talked about people from the different ecosystem partners, maybe somebody from SingularityNet to interview one time, somebody from Rejuve, somebody from Deep Funding, both on the foundation side and a project that got funded. Just different ways we can kind of highlight the different aspects of the ecosystem. So it might be helpful is, in order to coordinate with what the ecosystem is doing, if we could get a list of people we should be reaching out to during certain times that things are being released, so we can really try and coordinate releases and interviewing the people that are involved, or interviewing a certain professor that the foundation might want us to broadcast their positions, things along those lines.
Yeah, there's definitely room for that. There's quite some internal projects which are about to spin off, which potentially could serve quite well in that side of things. And we did relay internally this request. Didn't end up right now in people joining, but it's not being ignored. Yeah, I'm not gonna promise for next week, honestly, but yeah, that's very much on top of mind. Just reading in chat a question by Mikasa on the Discord tags. And you're quite right. I think I did set up the roles in such a way that people with the ambassador role can now create other roles. But I imagine it would be quite useful to have this for people leading work groups. In this case, as you mentioned, Kenichi for the Writers Guild, so that Kenichi is also able to manage roles. Yeah, I'll set it up. That's the easiest.
So the D workspace for Writers Guild, is that TiVo or Felix who can set that?
I think everybody with the ambassador role again has options to create a space. It was a little bit tricky previously to get it in the right section, but it's noted. I think this will be should be done pretty quickly.
Just shoot me a DM, Stephen, if you want, and I can set it up for you. If you need a space there, or if I got it right.
It's just to put it in the right format, but I think they need their own space on. But yeah, I'll talk to you later about it. Right.
Oh, definitely.
But the way I understood it, Stephen was asking for the writers work group. Or
yeah, that's right. That is right. Sorry, I got the writers work group. Is to set up a separate D workspace for them. Yeah.
All right. Looking at the clock, we have about 6 more minutes in this session. Let me quickly hop over to the slides. I think I didn't have too much structured further. Well, we did touch on the sandbox session.
Yeah,
I have something I do want to add for Thursday as well. Or if anybody wants to. I'm hearing something, but not sure where it's coming from because I'm looking at. I think that might be more background than actual contribution. ASV Invest. Server muted already. Thank you. Do pop in chat if you want to contribute something. Coming Thursday on 18:30 UTC. There's the kickoff session for the deep funding community governance round. We had one before between round 1 and 2. And yeah, with the vote of round 2 now being concluded, this brings us to the next round of community governance. And yeah, I would really like to invite anybody interested to join in there. It was last time was in my mind at least, was a big success. There was quite some involvement, and we made quite some changes based on community feedback, and people have the opportunity to using the same platform actually as the deep funding proposals themselves, so the Sway portal, to put their proposals, their ideas on how to improve deep funding itself. And that can then be ideated on, and they will be put to vote. So, yeah, the very first session for that community governance round will be happening this Thursday. It is in the. Let me correct that. It's not yet in the ambassador calendar. Let me change that quickly. It will pop up there in a bit. So that's at. It's actually straight after the AI sandbox session, so that works out nicely. Unless you guys run over the time slot. And I think from my side that pretty much concludes. Yeah, there's of course there's, as always, room for questions or remarks or random thoughts you want to add.
As we go some of you in the process guild, and previously it was also discussed by Edel that the D-work may become a blocker. So something I would already mention is that I think this month we will be looking into alternative ways to capture the work we do. Because the end goal of D-work, why was it taken as use case, was there was just many positive use cases where we could recognize tasks, and it was already easier to see, oh, there is a participation, or there are some documentation, and this is how we do it, this is how we record it. But now, as we see in this scaling up and a lot of people trying to train and understand how to use it, and our treasury system is more complicated, it requires more information, and our vision, what do we want to track, has also like tenfolded compared to the vision we started from last year. So yeah, there probably will be several changes. For example, one thing I'm gonna look at this month is ClickUp, so that we differentiate some of internal way we work and some external ways we work. And from marketing guild, I already, or like at least funding team, I see a lot of good like Excels, and marketing guild also has it. So technically, there is potential to convert the Excel's outputs also into Treasury Manager directly, and don't have to use the D-work at all, if that makes sense for like internal tracking and understanding who does what and how much. So yeah, keep that in mind. We're not stuck in a tool we use. We have to think of what is the best tool that could provide the results we are looking for. And if Steven jumping in, he has quite an amazing experience with GitHub and GitHub project management. So if somebody is also interested to track things there and finds that a better use case, then we can also directly integrate GitHub to Treasury Manager. And I see it totally coming that in over the several months, we simply have multitude of exports or API connections to gather our work and then bundle that into nice little transactions with metadata.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. I do have a lot of experience, particularly in using GitHub project management to track issues. The question is, the problem with GitHub is the knowledge barrier for most people. So I best work with TiVo collaboratively and the whole community to see what works for everyone, really, because it's really, you know, what we use at the back end, the tools we use at the back end may not be the tools we need to use at the front end. That's a good segue to other conversations, maybe in process guild.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, there's the Zoom.
See you all on Zoom. Thanks for hosting. Nice hanging with everybody.
And thanks all for joining. And hope to see you around.
Good meeting, and welcome to all newbies, and come be part of the family, because we are one big extended family, and we're growing closer as we get to know each other. So thank you. See you in Zoom.
Also, for all the new faces, the ambassadors program is still early, though it's working since 1 year. And everybody who's joining here, we definitely count on you in becoming an active shaper as well on the ambassadors program. So you join a very fresh, full in process, full in construction thing here, and become a part of it by contributing and engaging. That's how it works. It's open for everybody. We count on everyone. And let's make this a great thing together. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Awesome closing words there. Thanks.